Okay. What we'd like to do now is just ask you to think about something. Very, very simple situation. You buy chicken. I'm sure there's everybody in this room has a property that it buys chicken, for example. Okay. So, are you getting the best price for your chicken? So let's just take this as an example. This is you. This is your hotel. And let's say for the moment you've a system in your hotel, because everybody loves systems and codes and all that sort of stuff, and you call chicken that number, and you call it chicken breast fillet, you pay $4.10, in whatever currency you happen to buy it in. So how do you know you're getting the best price? Well, you've got somebody who goes, I can get you 3 quotes, maybe every month or every 6 months or every year or however often you do it, or every week. And these are the suppliers they go out to. And this supplier sells this chicken breast, but that's what they call it in their company. And this supplier sells this chicken fillet, and that's what they call it in their company. And this supplier sells that one, and that's what they call it in their company. And they've all got different prices. Fair enough? Kind of situation you're in every day, yeah? So you go out and you get the best price, and at the moment in your system you're saying you buy it for $4.10, but you're actually buying it off this guy, and he's actually charging you $4.35 in the invoice. You think it's $4.10, but when the invoice comes in, it's actually $4.35. Okay, so that's a fairly typical, ordinary, everyday situation that we encounter with most of our clients most of the time. Now, how often you go out and get the quote is anybody's guess. Maybe it's a month, maybe it's 6 months. It depends on how busy I am. So the next thing I want you to think about is other hotels in the group that you're part of also buy chicken. Yeah? So let's pretend we're now in Egypt, or we're in Dubai, or we're in wherever else you have a number of hotels. So this is you again, and this is you, and this is you, and this is you, and this is all of you together in a group. Yeah? And you've all got the suppliers that you're buying from. So who buys the best? Do the other hotels also buy chicken? If they buy chicken, is it the same chicken as mine? Now, what everybody will say is, well, actually, no, my chicken is much better than everybody else's. Usually, yeah? So the problem now is that you buy chicken and you call it chicken breast fillet, you pay $4.10, and that's your code. But this guy, he buys chicken, he calls it fillet chicken, and that's his code. And this guy over here calls chicken breast, but he abbreviates it, and that's his code. And he buys that, and that's his code. So how do we know we're actually buying the same stuff? Because everybody's calling it a different name. Not just your suppliers, but you guys as well. And that's one of the reasons hotel companies historically, in our experience, don't particularly buy well as a group typically. They tend to have individual hotels operating individually from a buying perspective, and everybody's got their own deal. And it's impossible to figure out who's got the best deal because we're all calling it different things. And that's just one example, and I've laid it out on a piece of paper for you. But you buy thousands of things every week. So how could you ever possibly get to the bottom of which is actually the same thing? And I guarantee you, when you take these guys aside and say, well, you're $4.10, he's $3.15, he's $4.15, he's $2.75, this guy will say that that's not the same chicken I buy. My chicken is much better. And we don't know. You don't know, nobody knows. So that's the situation as a group. You know, am I buying the best? Actually, no, none of us really know. So now we get to the business end of things in terms of what is it that Marketboomer does to try to improve that situation. Buying with Marketboomer, the approach we take, if we just think about you again, is we want you to get clear on what you buy and who can supply it. Very specifically what you buy and who can supply it. So when I say what you buy, I don't mean whatever description you used to use. I mean, it's chicken fillet, the skin is off, the average weight is between 190 and 210 grams, and in fact it's got a meat buyer's guide number of 6088 in case anybody's got any doubt. That's the chicken that we buy. Agreed? No dispute, no argument. The skin is off. You know, all these qualitative things, is it fresh, is it frozen, all those things get structured into the description so that we all agree what we buy. That's me. Then we go and we look at all the suppliers that you're currently buying from. Now, if we go back to the original example, there were certain suppliers that we weren't buying from, but actually when we qualify them, they actually don't sell that product anyway. This guy sells chicken skin as fillets at least 210 to 230 grams. Maybe the skin is on or skin is off with him. Maybe that's why the chef never buys his product. And so on and so forth. So in Marketboomer, what we do is we get clear what you buy, we define it very specifically, we then find out what your suppliers say they sell, and we get them to quote against these specifications, so we start to understand who's actually selling what, and we start to then qualify and disqualify those who can or cannot meet those criteria. So then what happens is, all of these discussions actually become irrelevant. We don't care, because in Marketboomer what we do is we say, that's what you buy, he sells the same thing, the code for that is P4554, that's all we need to know. We kind of do a mapping between what you're buying, what the suppliers are selling, and then the system will automatically work out what the best price is. So in this case, this is the supplier we're going to be buying from at $3.85 because he's got the best price. And he's one of the suppliers that has been pre-qualified. Not necessarily by us, by you, by your operation. So what we'll do is we'll come in and we'll sit down and say, what do you buy? We'll qualify it very clearly. Then we'll say, who do you buy it from? We'll qualify them. And then we'll say, what are your rules when you buy it? And your rules may be, well, I only want to buy it from him because he's my cousin. And we'll say, fine, tick in the box, and you buy it from him. In the initial phase, we don't care why you buy something. We just want to know what you buy, how much you pay for it, who you're buying it from. Is that okay? So that's the first phase in Marketboomer. So the next phase is if you decide to do this as a group, what we start to do is recognize you as a group. And we go around to you and you and you and you, and we agree with all of you that that, in fact, is the kind of chicken you're buying. Now, you may have other hotels who like an average weight of 210 to 230. That's fine. That would be a different product. But for those of you who are buying actually that exact chicken, we will start to map the fact that you're all buying the same product. And we'll do it with your bananas and your oranges and your apples and your fish and your seafood and your detergents and everything else that you buy. And then what we'll do is we'll find, well, actually, all of these other hotels are also buying from suppliers that maybe weren't available to me in the past, because I didn't even know they were there. Or maybe that guy's cousin isn't my cousin, so I've never actually bought from him. So I start to come into the loop. Now, everybody's got their own price, but what you start to do is, because you now all buy that product, and as a group you buy 350 kilos, you start to then be in a position to negotiate as a group. And you start saying to these suppliers, listen, $5.95 is great, but now the $5.95 is for us all, not just one of us. And $3.50, fantastic, but it's not just for him, it's now all of us, because we're all the same company. And we all buy together. And in this case, down here, this is the supplier who right now at $3.35 is the best deal. Now, he was before, a few slides earlier, he was actually $3.15. But that was $3.15 when he was selling to his cousin. And you guys, you're not his cousin. So you have a bit of a negotiation and you discuss and you say, well, actually, we're buying 250 kilos. So it's still okay for 250 kilos. I can't give you 315 because that's like crazy. I'll give you 335. Does that make sense? And what happens is, Marketboomer kind of takes a little bit of the personality and the relationship out of the buying decision. Not that we're trying to disenfranchise the buyer from the supplier. We're trying to put everybody on a level playing field. So what we say to you is, who of the suppliers that are available to you are you prepared to do business with? Tick in the box. Who of the suppliers available to you are you not prepared to do business with? X in the box. Of the suppliers you're prepared to do business with because they meet all the criteria that's necessary, what are the prices they're offering? After that, it becomes kind of an academic decision. Well, if he's got the best price, we're prepared to do it, and he sells to the hotel next door, we should be buying from him. Does that make sense? The system does that automatically for you. And that's it. We can actually finish now, because that's what Marketboomer does. There's a huge amount more detail in how we do it. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day, that's what we do. We get you working as a group. We identify what you buy, we identify who you buy it from, we identify what the prices available to you are, we then have to get it organised to get it at the best price. And then we kick in with a thing called Best Buy, if you want to. And Best Buy is where you literally say to the system, all these guys with ticks, they're all qualified to sell us beef and poultry, they're all good quality suppliers, they've been supplying individual hotels for years. They all now know exactly what we buy. There's no more mistakes. The guy dropping in the fillet with the skin on when it should be off, the guy dropping in the frozen when it should be fresh, and so on and so forth. We're now going to let them compete for our business on a day-to-day basis. The way you have to compete for business on a day-to-day basis when you're selling your rooms, and the way you have to manage your yields and your prices to get the business in the fillet hotels, you start to apply the same kind of philosophy, and you start to actually manage your purchasing like you manage your revenue. And you start to use the group buying power to get yourself better deals, and you start to allow these suppliers to become a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more competitive in the prices they're offering you.